Hey, what's up, fellas? I'm Malicious Female Fan Steve Malicious here with my favorite Samsung Galaxy device of all time. Before there were any Ultras or Pluses, there was just a man and his Note 9. Today on this edition of Steve Malicious Tech. And we're back, and as always, right at the top of the video, thank you so much to all the new subscribers. We're on our march to 1,000 subscribers. If you like old stuff, new stuff, phones of any kind, go ahead and give that subscribe button a tussle. It certainly means a lot to me. Okay, so let's talk Note 9. And this is going to be a little bit of a mini-series on the Note devices as we approach the announcement of the Galaxy Note 10. And I talk about the Note 9 as my favorite Galaxy device of all time because this device here seems like the last of the old style of thinking when it comes to a Note device. When I used to think of a Galaxy Note device, I used to think of, imagine a 12-year-old kid going in a store that has nothing but Samsung features on the shelves. And so a guy from Samsung standing behind him with a clipboard, and you going through and be like, I want this option, I want this option, I want this option, I want this feature, I want this. And the guy from Samsung just nodding his head. Yep, okay. And writing it down on a pad. And once you're passed out with all the options that you want in a phone, just stands at you, stares at you, and says, okay, come back in 6 months, we'll have your phone for you. And that used to be the Note 9. They didn't care about any design feature, whether it would be feasible or not. They put every bit of the top technology they had, and they crammed it into a Note device. And we've moved away from that a little bit, and that's why this still today is my favorite Galaxy Note. So let's talk about some of those things that they were able to cram into this device. Fingerprint sensor on the back, which I understand you could just say, all right, well, you have the one on the front now and they're getting better every day. That's fine. This one was snappy. It was unobtrusive, right on the back of the device, and they actually corrected the placement, thankfully, from the Note 8, where it was right next to the camera, and you're smudging up your camera, and it was a total disaster. On the front of the device, the iris sensor, which is so cool. It's such a great feature, and the added security that you get with it, you can use your Samsung Pay. So instead of having to authenticate with the fingerprint sensor, which sometimes the in-screen one just doesn't work the same. Sometimes if there's a little moisture on your finger, if it's right a little off center, if it's humid outside, if your phone gets a couple drops of rain on it, you're sitting there for a few minutes. You know, at least 30 seconds trying to get it just right to just pay for your coffee or whatever it is that you're trying to use your Samsung Pay for. So the iris sensor was so great for that. Just boom, look at it, you're in, super secure, not facial recognition, something that you could actually make bank transactions with. That was a great feature, and it was a shame that this is the last device from Samsung that has it, and that they took it out of other Note devices. Notification LED. I understand it's kind of a minor thing. Personally, I think they missed a huge advantage to use the hole punch as some sort of fancy futuristic notification LED. And they're saying, well, yeah, you got your on-screen display now. What do you really need that for? Across the room, just with a glance, it catches your eye because it's blinking and you can know by the color what it is. I still think it's a neat feature. I wish that they would come up with a way to incorporate it in the hole punch, even if you got to make the hole punch a little bigger, which, by the way, would mean that you could give us the wide-angle selfie camera back, like on the Note 10 Plus, but that would be something that I definitely like to see. In fact, some people came out with third-party apps that make the hole punch into a notification LED, which I thought was pretty neat. But with those third-party apps, you always have to worry about battery drain and permissions and all that kind of stuff. Now, something I talked about. Snapdragon 845, 6 gigs of RAM. There is a variant with 8 gigs of RAM, but I'm going to tell you, if you want to pick up one today, up until just a couple weeks ago, I was seeing brand new ones going for $650, $700. And this guy now, I guess because we're getting close to Note 20 season, a new one on eBay from several different sellers, not just one, new in the box, unlocked, $450. Now, I'm still going to stand by my recommendation of the Note 10 Plus, the S10 Plus being the best pound for pound right now at $650 because of the Snapdragon 855 and because of the improved camera system. But for $450, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And I'll tell you what, I know we get a little out of hand when it comes to Snapdragon 855 as opposed to 45. And the performance in everyday terms is not something that you're seriously going to go crazy over. It's not like the 45 is going to sit there and it's like you're calculating things on an abacus compared to the 55, which is like a rocket ship. But that being said, if you're spending $650 to $700, I would like there to be at least some future proofing. And the 55 with the 8 gigs of RAM that you get on the S10 Plus gives you that little bit extra where you might get an extra year or two before you start to see any noticeable decline in performance. And I understand that now we get in this mode, and everybody on YouTube is guilty of it. All these top reviewers, they're talking about these phones that are coming out, and you need this feature, and you need this feature, and it's $1,300 and $1,400 and $1,500, like it's just the way it is. It's not just the way it is. Just because that's what everybody else is doing and that's what you need to get the top devices doesn't make it not crazy. So when we're talking $650, I want you to be able to get, that's a big chunk of money. You should be able to get the most amount of performance for the longest time for your dollar without having to go $1,500 and taking out a mortgage on your home to afford some of these crazy top tier devices. So at $450 for this, are you getting 3 years that you might get after another device? Depends on your use, possibly. But on a S10 Plus, I think you're getting definitely the longer lifespan out of it. And one of the reasons is the 845 and the 6 gigs of RAM that's on this model, because now with this multitasking and these different programs taking up more space, I think you're going to want that 8 gigs of RAM. But you're not going to go wrong on $450 for a Note 9. And certainly not with the update to One UI 2.0 and Android 10. Really great. It's snappy, just as snappy as it always was. I mean, all the apps work fine. You can load up anything. It all works. Scrolling nice. All the features are there. And if anything, I think that One UI 2.0 actually did this phone a service, because the first version of One UI, when you first got it, I think it was with Android 9, because this is the second update for this phone. This phone launched with Android 8, 8.1. Then you got Pie. Then you got Android 10 with One UI 2.0. And One UI 2.0 actually improved the performance of the Note 9. Let me know in the comment section below if you have a Note 9 and you experienced the same thing I did. But I think it got a little bit snappier. One UI 1.0 with Android 9 seemed to choke it, seemed to bog it down a little bit. Now, with all the other Note devices, personally, if you get this one, you're going to have to restart it once a week. That's just minimum. Restart it once a week. Keep it fresh. I think the Note 10 Plus actually does it automatically, so you just you don't even know it's happening. But this one will remind you, absolutely recommended that you do that. Once a week, go ahead, restart it. The performance will still be great. And you're not really giving up a whole lot as far as features for this. In fact, you're getting back a headphone jack again that we talked about last week that's not on the Note 10 Plus. You're getting the iris sensor. You're getting some of that. You're still getting a lot of S Pen functionality. This was still a Bluetooth S Pen. This still recharged in the phone itself. You could still take selfies and pictures manipulating the S Pen, which is really great. If you're in like a group selfie or you have a bunch of people, you kind of put the phone out and you're able to put this behind your back or down the side or in your pocket or something like that at your side and take that photo. Believe it or not, it's something that you really use. Oh, by the way, look at that. C3PO, because of the blue and the yellow and matching with the yellow. You don't get this from other channels. You don't get this kind of coordination. Just saying. But the S Pen, perfectly useful as far as feature is concerned compared to the Note 10 Plus. So you're really not getting chipped there. I like the fact that even it has this on-screen thing constantly. So even if its screen is off completely and you just have the always-on display on, you can hit where your thumb would be normally on a in-screen fingerprint sensor. Get the screen up. You can see how the iris sensor is trying to find me right now and open your phone that way. And it's almost like, not as fast, obviously the iris sensor has to come on, but almost like you have an in-screen fingerprint sensor. For whatever reason, you can't get around to the back of your device and go ahead and open it up with that. Cameras, they're good. In really bright light, you're going to get great performance like all the other ones. But this one, I think, unfortunately, when you get to the lower light and the night mode performance, not nearly as good as the S10 Plus and the iPhone 11. So that's kind of the areas where I think you're falling off when you go with a Note 9 as opposed to a newer a Galaxy device. But with that being said, $450 for this kind of snappy performance, this form factor, and it's just a new enough form factor, right? They still kind of have from the outside that square. I understand you get bezels in the front. I don't know when it was that we got so obsessed with the bezels. And some of these devices are gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. The Note 10 Plus with the kind of edge to edge with the hole punch is a gorgeous device. But don't talk to me about bezel-less until we're looking at the phone from... I don't know if this is going to be obscure. Do you guys remember Real Steel? I think it was Hugh Jackman. The robots fighting? Okay. That type of phone, which was a Nokia, which is a joke at this point. The Nokia that was like almost translucent, was see-through. The screen was kind of floating and was like a clear piece of glass. Call me then. Talk to me about bezel-less then. But now, just admit that it's an artistic thing and not a function thing. Because personally, if you got to give me a little bit of chin and a little bit of forehead and add that much more functionality, that's what the Note used to be about. Not that I get worked up about it, just saying. But that's what you used to expect from a Note device. Cram everything in. Give us everything. Now let us sort it out from there. But if you're still in the market for a Note 9 today or a Note device, this is still the second best pen device on the planet. No disrespect to the LG Stylo 6. But until there's a Note 20, this is the second best device, and the price gap is crazy. And until a little while ago, this was still a very expensive device. But now, a little bit cheaper, so if you're in the market, go ahead and pick one up. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Tell me about your Note experiences. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.